Welcome back, everybody, to True Talk Tuesdays with TruMotion, where a couple of guys talk about how to make the world a better place and hopefully make your day a little bit better in the process. My name is Mark, followed by my co-host Stephen. Let's get things kicked off. Well, first off, let's just kind of recap the week. Stephen, how's your week been, man?
Oh, my week was great. I put in a lot of work this week. Obviously, I taught a lot this week, and I felt that was a huge opportunity for me to grow, both as a person and an instructor. And then I finished out the week, doing the boring adulting things, car maintenance, all that garbage, all that garbage you have to do.
Yeah, no, Stephen actually had to teach a lot more this week because he was in charge of the studio for the first 2 days because I was incapacitated. I was dealing with some illnesses and wasn't able to make it into the studio, so he really stepped up and kind of took care of the studio while I was gone, and everything's still running well, and he did a great job, so I really appreciated him for that. But yeah, no, it's crazy how like we talked earlier about
curveballs.
Yeah, curveballs, and man, when all of a sudden you're like, things are going well and like I'm feeling great, and then life decides to like punch you in the face, so to speak, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't keep anything down, and I haven't eaten for 5 days because everything doesn't want to work right, and then you're in covering the studio, and then everything else like in your other businesses kind of like take a hit, and it's like, wow, that was interesting. Like, man, that kind of stunk, but it was one of those things to where it's like, okay, it happened. Let's roll with it. Let's see how we can grow from this. Because again, the whole theme for the year is growth, and I feel like both like myself personally, I feel like I grew just learning how to kind of let go a little bit, and just like accept. I don't want to say accept things, but like being sick's kind of out of your hands, and it's like. You can do your best to keep yourself like healthy and this and that, but when it sneaks up on you, you're just like, instead of fighting it, you're like, okay, I'm sick. Like, now let's just worry about recovery. Right. Worry about recovery. Okay. Just get some rest, all that stuff. And then, when it's someone else teaching, it's like, it's a great opportunity for, for yourself to teach some new students, because you got to teach some students you haven't taught before. And, the challenges associated with that. And
oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I feel like it was a good opportunity for both of us to grow. And, like, I felt our communication grew a little bit better because after we had that, that talk together, I was like, that was unexpected, but it was really good. It was really good, and I'm really glad that we had it. So,
I have to say I'm impressed that you came back and you were just like, it's almost like you didn't miss a beat after your first 2 days. I know you were like still recovering, but you came back, you scheduled some intros, and I was super impressed with that. I just thought about, wow, like he might be down, but he's not out.
Yeah, no, you can never be out. It's obviously sometimes you're never going to operate at 100%.
Yeah.
But you got to realize that sometimes your 80% is better than someone else's 100%.
Hey, that's right.
So 80% is better than 0%.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, even if you're, not operating at full capacity, giving a little is better than giving nothing. Mm-hmm. So, that's actually a good takeaway to think about. So if you're even when you're sick, like Tuesday, I was, still recovering, and like you said, I was able to make a couple of intros. I was like, okay, I can't really talk, but I can text these people.
Yeah,
like I can at least text them while I'm laying in bed.
Yep.
So it's like, okay, let's get that done at least. So if there's something you feel like you can do, obviously you try to do it, and it's like, maybe you only were able to give 5% that day, but again, 5% is better than 0%.
Honestly, they talk about 1% consecutive change every day, so
there you go.
You're doing more than that.
So yeah, it was a great week. It was a great week for both of us to grow, good for the studio to grow. Yeah, and it's like every now and then you get those curveballs thrown at you, and it's like, all right, you either need to sit back on it and drive it out of the park, or get fooled by it and swing and miss and get back up and try again. So, but yeah. So this week's top 5 we've discussed, and it's going to be top 5 athletes. Now, let me clarify. Athletes do not mean like top 5 competitors or winners. We're talking like people that are physically gifted so much more than everybody else. Okay, like you could call them like your freak athletes. You know, the once in a generation type athletes. Okay, like because we were talking a little bit about it the other day, and you brought up Tom Brady. It's like, is Tom Brady an athlete? Absolutely, he is. Mm-hmm. He's a great champion and a great leader too, but I wouldn't consider him a top athlete. Because is he athletic? Absolutely. Are there more people more athletic than him? Yeah. So that's kind of like what we're looking at when we say top athlete. So who do you got on your list, Stephen?
Well, honestly, I put Tom Brady on my list. Still.
Oh, Tom Brady.
Yep, because you can't underestimate the mental game.
Well, and if you want to make, to be honest with you, for him to play as long as he did in such a physical sport as that is,
and turn around a whole team into one of the most hated teams.
Yeah, okay, I'll let that pass because everybody, like, historically, quarterbacks did not play well past 39.
Right.
And like he played until like what, 43, 42?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I'll give that to you. Yeah, that makes sense now.
That to me?
Yeah, I'll give that to you.
I have a pretty big list though. Some of the other ones, Iron Mike Tyson.
Mike Tyson's
on there. Obviously, I enjoy watching some of his fights.
Yeah. He was a freak athlete. He was fast and strong.
Yeah.
Jeez.
Michael Phelps is on my list as well. Michael Phelps, insane. Has the most gold medals.
Can't really argue with that.
Okay. Muhammad Ali's up there on that.
Muhammad Ali.
And then I put Shaquille O'Neal on that too.
Shaquille. Yes. If you have to have the NBA change rules based off of you, you know you're doing something right, or you're just a monster.
You are the meta. They have to change the rules to make it fair for everyone else.
Yes, exactly. So that's a pretty good list. That's a good list, and it's really hard to narrow it down to 5.
There's a lot,
because once you start thinking about it, you're like, oh my gosh, this person.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, this person, and it's really tough because there's some of them that I was like looking at, and I'm like, I got to leave them off the list because this person is this way, and you know. So I'm going to start on no particular order, not like 1 through 5 or nothing. This is my top 5. Michael Jordan. I've got Michael Jordan on my list.
Absolutely.
He's one. Bo Jackson. He's another one. And then I would say Shaquille O'Neal. He's another one. This one might be a little controversial, but I think he's a freak athlete. And I just saw, and it's true, he's the only person to be in the NFL, UFC, and WWE. So it's Brock Lesnar. Yeah, Brock Lesnar, love him or hate him, the dude is a freak athlete. I mean, there's no way he should be that big and that agile. So I would say him. And then my last one, I'll go with another Olympian and say Usain Bolt.
Usain Bolt, yeah.
Yeah, Usain Bolt. He's a freak athlete as well. To be known as the world's fastest man and hold as many records as he has, it's kind of hard not to put Olympians on the list.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
I didn't realize this about one of my runner-ups was Ronda Rousey, and she was an Olympic athlete before she went into...
Yeah, she was a bronze medalist in, I don't remember what games.
Judo, I think.
She played, she was a judo practitioner, but I can't remember what year she competed in the Olympics. But
that was before her octagon thing.
Yeah, no, I would consider her a top athlete too, because she was definitely a trailblazer for women's combat sports. Man, honestly, when Ronda Rousey was in her prime, man, nobody could throw down like her. Mm-hmm. If she got a hold of you, she'd throw you on, just do this wicked throw, land on you, and then put you in an armbar. It was wild. It was way wild. And then I remember when she lost the first time to Holly Holmes.
Okay.
It was like a shocker. Everybody was like, what is going on? And to lose the way she did by getting knocked out, that was even more like, everybody was like quiet, like, that just happened.
Mm-hmm.
So probably another one that's kind of controversial too is he's another boxer, Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, yeah.
Like reputation wise, he doesn't have the best reputation, but like the dude is an athlete and he stays in shape all the time. Like if he's at fighting weight year round. So if somebody's like, hey, I want to do this fight, he's like, I'm ready to go. Like, what weekend? Not like, oh, I need 6 months to train and get in shape. It's like, no, he's in shape all the time. So, yeah, a lot of the fighters, man, because I agree with Mike Tyson and Muhammad Ali. God, you can't get past those guys. And we're probably missing all sorts of boxers too. But, yeah, maybe MMA guys, I think probably the most freak athlete MMA person would probably have to be athletic wise. Probably like John Jones. He's kind of a freak athlete too. But man, to have like his family's full of professional athletes.
Right. The genes are good with that.
Yeah, exactly. So he's kind of cheating. But yeah, a lot of fighters are really, man, they're something else. They're something else. Like I would probably, if we're talking like longevity, like Tom Brady, you could put Randy Couture on that list.
Mm-hmm.
To fight up into his 40s, like forget it. Like, no, thank you. So, but that's our top 5. If you have a different top 5, which obviously everybody does, feel free to leave it in the comments or send us an email and let us know what your top 5 is. So the Ask the Sensei portion of the day is we've had a couple of good questions from our students this week. One of them was what is the hardest part about training? So what's been the hardest part about your training in martial arts?
I think preparing for the physical parts of testing.
Okay.
Coming to the understanding that when you test, you're definitely going to be tested.
Yeah.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
That the purpose of testing that I've learned, and once I've learned that made so much more sense as to why it's happening is the instructors or the organizers of the test, they want to see what you're going to do under pressure.
Yeah.
And for me, that was super hard because when I was coming up through the ranks, I didn't work out as much as I did now. Mm-hmm. And so being physically exhausted and then having to perform things that challenge the mind, challenge the body, that was super hard.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Besides the low-hanging fruit of remembering stuff, I think.
Yeah.
That's the hardest part for me was doing what are you going to do when you're exhausted?
No, I agree. Obviously, testing is a very difficult part of the process as well. I would say that testing's gotten a lot different over the years, which is good. Because I remember my yellow belt test. The first test you ever do is you go from white to yellow. My yellow belt test was 3 hours long. Mm. And I was like, my God, like, it's this long. It about broke me. I'm like, dude, I'm not doing another one of these tests. Are you kidding me? I'm like, I'm going to be yellow belt forever. Like, do you want to test for orange belt? No. Not if it's like that. So I remember testing for yellow belt and it being that long, and I'm just thinking in my head, my goodness, if the first test is this bad, and then that, it makes you think longer term than you need to, instead of just thinking that day, that minute, that second, and taking it one step at a time. So, yeah, yellow belt was really rough, and my black belt test was really rough. We have since learned how to be smarter with our testing. So now black belt tests are still really long.
Still a difficult test.
They're still 3-4 hours long, which is not a cakewalk. But we used to have black belt tests that were 7-8 hours long. And that was tough. That was really, really tough. But yeah, I agree. The testing portion of training is really difficult. I'd also even take it one step further. The act of just starting is probably the hardest part. Because I tell a lot of people the hardest part about training is walking in the front door. So if you've built up enough courage, enough curiosity, whatever it is that you need to have built up enough to come into a studio, that's difficult. You're coming into a new environment. You don't know what to expect. You don't know who anybody is. So I would even take it a step further and just say the act of just getting started and walking in the front door is probably one of the hardest parts about your training.
Yeah, that's I'd have to agree with that, because I can clearly remember thinking about coming in to train back at the old location, seeing it multiple times, and having it just gnaw away at my conscious mind, be like, I really should try that. I really need to do that. I got to do that.
Yep.
It's just, and then eventually going in, like, okay, let's see they're going to say I'm not worthy. They're going to throw me out. It's going to be embarrassing.
Yeah.
All these
thoughts run through your head. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, I remember when I first started or called, I kept driving past the Murray studio when I was done with the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh man, I should give this place a call. So as I was driving by one night, I wrote down the number, and then I called them the next day, and I can't remember who answered the phone, but they said the name so fast that I thought I called the wrong number, and I hung up.
Oh no!
And I was all like, that was weird. So I called back, and they said it just as fast again, but then this time I was all like, it's the same person. So then I had to be like, is this the karate studio?
Karate studio.
They're like, oh yeah, man. And I was like, okay. It's like, well, slow down when you answer the damn phone, dude. Like, I don't know who the hell you are. So, but yeah, no, it's one of those things to where it's like, yeah, building up that courage or building up that whatever to walk in the front door, or admitting to yourself, being like, I need this. There's a hole that I'm lacking, and I need to start training to make sure I can fulfill that. So, yeah, so far I would definitely say the testing and the starting has been the hardest part for me. The training and remembering stuff, I mean, that always it always goes in waves.
It's a muscle. You just strengthen it.
Exactly.
And it works for you.
Like, things that were hard at one point are not hard now. And I mean, so that's always kind of changing in process. So the next question somebody's asked us is, have you ever had to use your training outside of the dojo?
Oh, yeah. This is interesting. To defend myself, I was not in a situation where it's like I had to, it's me or them.
Yeah.
I've used my training physically, because there was a couple instances where someone was getting a little too, I don't know, close. I'm like, hey, shove off for a second. And I used an immortal man strike, and I hit their solar plexus. And they got the message, but it was a very casual situation, and I was just like, yeah, we're having fun. Poke.
Yeah.
That is the closest to an altercation that I've used my training on. There's another side of this, which is the mental toughness that comes with training, and that, man, that's like a bank. You make deposits and you make withdrawals.
Yep.
And I put in a lot of deposits in there in my training here, and I've also made some withdrawals. Because every time, in our previous question, every time I've gone through a test, I'm like, oh, that's so hard. But then I realized I passed it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, well, I can do this. And so that becomes a deposit.
Yeah.
And then when I was working for corporate America, it's like, oh, this is so hard. And then I think about, well, they're over the phone yelling at you. They're not in your face yelling at you. They're not going to beat you up physically. That becomes a withdrawal. Then I feel like, okay, this isn't that bad.
Yeah.
So in that aspect, I've used my training a lot.
Yeah, I was going to say, most people will never have to use their training physically.
Yeah.
I mean, at least that's the hope. Like,
right.
Every time we're training people, I'm like, God, I hope they never have to use this stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, when you're younger and you're a young man, you're like, I don't want to use this stuff.
I just want someone to attack me right as I'm leaving the dojo.
It's like I should start walking down dark alleys with money hanging out of my pockets and like see what happens. Yeah, nobody, for the most part, most people will never have to physically use their training to like get themselves out of a fight. But I'm in 100% agreement with you. But that mental side of your training, God, you use it every day.
Mm-hmm.
You use it every day. The confidence that you gain from your training will honestly prevent most altercations.
That's what I was thinking. Exactly. How many fights have not happened because of what you're exuding? Because you're like, Mark knows his stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So like when you are competent with something in terms of like a violent act such as martial arts, and you're good at it, you walk differently.
Carry yourself with that.
People will like look at you and be like, the dude's either been through some stuff or the dude knows some stuff.
Yeah.
It's like you can just sense it.
Seen some things or have done some things.
Exactly. It's like you can just sense it from people.
Yeah.
And people that want to probably try to start something sense it also.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this is the best bully deterrent ever. Not because they're actually going to go up and like clock them and be like, oh, I'm going to beat the bully up before the bully beats me up. No, it's you gain so much confidence from training that the bull will sense it and be like, you know what? I'm going to pick on something a little easier.
I want to pick on something my own size. You're
exactly.
too big.
Exactly. So, yeah, I would dare say, physically wise, I've always been able to either talk myself out of situations, either look myself out of situations, or not get into a situation. Using that, situational awareness that we talk about a lot. It's like, I'll prevent an altercation before it starts.
Yeah.
It's like, that area doesn't look so good. We're not going to go over there.
Yeah.
Or like, you know what, that group of people, let's just stay away from them. So it's like, in that aspect, you use it all the time. But now let's say all of a sudden something surprises you. And it's like, people are like, yeah, you want to go? And be like, well, if you want to go, let's do this. And it's like, most people won't expect you to be like, no, I don't want any food. But if you're like, well, do you want to do it right now? Or
want to
like,
get your friends or something?
Exactly. Do you want to go outside?
Yeah.
And then there's like, what? Like, well, do you want to fight here or do you want to fight outside?
Yeah.
Like, where do you want to go? And then most people don't, like, at least people that are, causing the altercation don't really know how to handle that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's interesting because when you kind of, not necessarily call their bluff, but if you're like ready to go, they're not necessarily ready to go, and it throws them for a loop. So, yeah, so I would definitely say physically wise, I've been lucky enough to get myself out of situations before they happen. I mean, obviously you have like, little altercations at like parties with friends and stuff like that, where you got like kind of like what you were saying, where you got to like let them know, be like, hey, that's enough.
Yeah. Without
like cracking them upside the head, even though that's what you want to do. So, like in that aspect, it's like, I've had a few where you just like, it's something as simple as like punching somebody in the arm.
Yeah.
And you hit them and they feel it and they're like, oh, like, damn, that was hard. You're like, yeah.
Yeah.
So shut up or like behave.
Yep.
Yeah. Or you grab them and you like kind of like, not necessarily put them in a hold, but you're like holding on to them and they feel like the power that you're like holding on to them with. And it's like, okay, I'll stop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, once you learn how to manipulate like their arms and their hands and the wrists, it's like you don't have to apply any pressure, and it's just then they're like, oh yeah, look at that.
It's funny because the only time someone's ever grabbed me and I have felt like, holy crap, like I'm in trouble, was a jiu-jitsu teacher that we used to train with in San Clemente. His name was Alberto dos Santos, and he was this little Brazilian guy, probably 5'6", not very tall, lean, not very big. He grabbed onto me during a training session one time, and I was like, I'm going nowhere.
Wow.
Like, his hands were so strong that you knew you were in trouble just from him grabbing you. And I'm like, I have never experienced anything like that before. I was kind of like, sort of taken back, and he grabbed me, and I was like, I froze, and I was like, oh my God, what's going on? And then he like pulled me over there, and we started working on stuff, but I was all like, damn, I've never been grabbed to where I feel like this guy could do whatever he wants, and I can't stop him.
Yeah.
It was kind of wild. But now that I've experienced that, it doesn't happen anymore. So, but yeah, no, training as far as physicality-wise, training out, like having to use your training outside of the dojo, honestly, very, very rarely happens. Have we have students had to use it? Unfortunately, we have. I mean, we've had students have to use their training outside of the dojo, and luckily enough, they've trained hard and they've come out safe. So that's why it's important to make sure that there's emphasis behind your training. Like, for instance, last night we did a class with, we called it the Night of 1,000 Punches. So we practiced 1,000 punches, or we did 1,000 punches of different variations of punches. And one of the things that started to happen, and this is with kind of the younger crowd, the teenagers, is they just started going through the motions and not really putting any emphasis on each strike. So you would look at them and it'd be like, all right, let's do a jab. And we did, 100 jabs with each hand. Well, the first 50 were actually really good. Then the next 50 kind of sucked because they were trying to go too fast. They weren't doing it full range, and it was this and that. And so after class, it was like, I had to tell everybody, I was like, some of you guys improved a lot. Some of you guys actually got worse. And they're like, you see these blank stares being like, how could I get worse? I just did 1,000 punches. It's like, well, you did half of them poorly, so you practiced bad habits. And it doesn't matter what you practice, whatever you practice, that's what you're going to do.
That's right.
So, and they didn't really quite fully understand the fact that your training's not like a light switch, where it's like, if you've never trained intensely, you can't go from inactivity to intense training like a light switch. So that's where you have to fall back on your training. So if you have trained correctly, it will be a light switch. Somebody does something and you act quickly and you act correctly. So yeah, intention in your training is very, very important. So for all of you guys that do train, make sure when you are training, you're taking each repetition, each scenario, each strike, each kick, like you're trying to get the next one better than the last one. So that really, really helps with progressing your training. But on to our last question. The question is, what is the best advice for someone looking to get started? So if you're going to give advice to somebody looking to get started, what would you tell them?
I would use the slogan, just to do it. Because for me, repetition is more important than timing. I would make sure, obviously, I would hope that they get started because they want to get started, they want to be here. Mm-hmm. But most of the time, if you keep showing up, if you keep participating in class, you're gonna develop that interest. You don't need a whole lot of interest to begin. You need enough interest to get you through the door, as we talked before, but you're gonna build your enjoyment for it. as you come in.
Yeah.
As you continue to get started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree. Yeah, definitely you want to, if you're ever looking to get started, just be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just be consistent. And don't worry about getting everything perfect.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. A lot of times this whole like, well, if I'm not going to do it right, I'm not going to do it at all nonsense is a cop-out for not trying. Okay.
That's right.
So if someone tells you like, hey, you should come train with me, and it's like, let's say 4 times a week, and you're like, oh, I can't commit to 4 times a week. If I can't make every class, then I'm just not going to do it. Well, you can make 2 classes, and that's fine. But consistency, don't worry about perfection. Perfection is, honestly, it's a myth, okay? So you want to worry about progress. Progress is more important than perfection, because perfection is never going to be achieved. I mean, that's our goal, and that's what we strive for, but it's never going to happen. And then probably the last thing I would tell somebody is patience. Like, big time patience, because we're in a society of such instant gratification that having to wait any sort of long term for anything is really difficult for a lot of people. And getting a black belt is not fast. It's not fast at all.
You need patience.
Yeah. And I remember going up through the ranks when I was a student, and I got super impatient between blue through green, maybe even green advanced. So there was like this period where all I wanted to do was rank advance. I just wanted to get my next rank. Just get my next rank. I didn't care about anything else. I just wanted to get my next rank. And it seemed like it took me forever to go from blue to advanced blue, from advanced blue to green, and from green to advanced green. I swear it took me like 2 years. But it probably took about a year, year and a half.
Right.
And I was like, God, this is taking way too long. And I was getting impatient. And then finally, some people like had to like be like, dude, you need to like relax. It's like the ranks will come. Okay, you need to just concentrate on like each class. Like worry about getting better. Don't worry about getting rank. And I was like, whatever, because you're already a black belt and this and that.
Easy to say that from where you are at.
Exactly. But in reality, that's true.
Oh, yeah.
It was correct. So, and an analogy I like to use is it's like when you're on a hike in the mountains. If all you're doing is determined to get to the end of the hike, and you just put your head down and you look at the trail, you miss the point of the hike.
That's right.
You miss all the beauty of going on the hike. You miss the fun of the hike. So obviously be goal oriented, but learn patience. Learn patience, because it's not going to come fast. That's probably another takeaway I would tell somebody.
Yeah, I would definitely want to ask, what are your expectations? You know, and this is more from a teaching stance, is trying to see why they're in there. Not to say, oh, is that going to be a good fit for you? No, of course it's a good fit for everyone. But I wanted from a perspective of someone who's already walked that path, maybe you'll see something that I won't. Maybe I know exactly what you're here to do, and I can help you there. Yeah,
exactly. Know why you started. That was another thing I was actually talking with somebody earlier this morning, and it was know your why. That's really important, and that's going to change throughout the stages of your training and stages of your life.
Yep.
The reason why you started now is not going to be the same reason why you continue to train, but you need to remember why you started. So the reasons why I started were not the same reasons why I'm still training now. Not even close. And the reason why I still train now is nothing that I ever thought it would be moving forward. It's interesting because we've talked a lot about, like, in order to be, well, maybe we have, maybe we haven't, maybe it hasn't been recorded, but that whole in order to be selfless, you have to be selfish. That was something that a guy named Andy Frisella talks a lot about. And a lot of times we tend to do things for other people before we do things for ourselves. And in order to give our best to other people, we have to make sure we're at our best ourselves too. So it's interesting because in reality, I still train and teach and practice, not for myself, but for everybody else. But it's that whole, like, I need to practice for them.
Mm-hmm.
I need to get better for them. It's like, I don't need to get better for myself anymore. I've already grown past that stage of like, yeah, I got my black belt, and I've got all these other accolades and this and that. It's like, now it's my opportunity to try to give back more. So at this stage in my training, it's like I'm training to become a better teacher. I'm training to make sure that the students are better than me. And that requires me to constantly be looking on how to improve and wanting to improve and making sure that we're trying to do our best to improve. Whether that would be in our teaching methods, our information, our communication with the students. So I continue to train and be involved and be active with martial arts, not necessarily for myself anymore, but for the students and for TruMotion.
Mm-hmm.
You know, for the West Jordan students, for the Murray students, for the West Jordan instructors, for the Murray instructors. Like, you know, it's if I can be my best, then I know they can be their best.
Right.
And if they can be their best, they can help me be my best.
There we go.
So it's definitely a give-take. So those are probably the biggest things. So remember your why, be patient. Like, we went through a bunch of them. So, but those are the Ask the Sensei questions for this week. If you have any questions you would like us to talk about, feel free to leave them in the comments or email us at TruTalk Tuesdays.
TruTalk Tuesdays
at gmail.com. But yeah, no, it's been a good week. It's been an interesting week. Like we talked about earlier, it's been a great opportunity for personal growth and dojo growth, and yeah, just constantly trying to improve our situations, improve our methods, dealing with adversity, because, you know, nothing ever goes smooth all the time. It's when things are going smooth, you ride that wave as long as you can, and then when things aren't, you endure until that wave comes back again.
Things are going smooth. You ask yourself, it's too quiet.
Yeah.
Something's coming.
You're like, okay, brace for impact. So, but yeah, no, it's been a good couple of weeks. It's been a good start of the year. Mm-hmm. I like the way that the dojo's heading, the things that we're doing, the events that we've had. Next weekend we have our 5-year dinner, where we take students that have been training for 5 years or more out to a nice dinner with everybody. So that'll be a fun opportunity for everybody to kind of hang out and mingle and talk and, you know, swap war stories, so to speak. But yeah, it's been good. Things have been going very, very well, and I'm liking where things are heading. I'm liking the direction we're going. Can things be better? Of course, everything can always be better. But you always want to make sure that it's not where you're at, it's where you're heading. So
right. I think putting our goal for the school this year just in a public area, referring to it often, it's growth. We know this. Is putting it in the center of attention.
Absolutely.
That's what we're focusing on.
Yeah, and to just be transparent with everybody and be like, yeah, we want the studio to grow in numbers-wise and also skill-wise.
Yeah, we want each student here to grow.
Exactly. Growth is not just, and it's interesting because everybody always assumes growth means like more students. Yes, growth. Yes, do we want more students? Of course we do. But also at the same time, growth is like so many more things than that. It's like with the students, we want them to grow physically, we want them to grow mentally, we want them to grow in their skill. So growth is just something you always want to be aware of. So the fact that we've made it kind of front and center with everybody and told everybody, be like, hey guys, like our goal for this year is growth. You know, you can take that however you want. I'm getting people like Todd actually texted me earlier. He's like, hey, I got a buddy that wants to train. Can I bring him in? Like, yeah, of course you can. Okay. It's very, very interesting when you put it out in front of everybody. So, yeah, it's been a great week, and it's I really liked having everybody know exactly what we're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And just being forward with everybody and being up front, I mean, I think it's been a great thing. So, yeah, that's kind of it for this week. Again, if you guys have any questions or concerns or things you would like to talk to us about or talk with us about, our next top 5, like whatever it is, yeah, feel free to leave us comments, send us an email. Make sure you subscribe, or you ever listen to your podcasts. We're going to get the iTunes stuff set up this week. I know we've been talking about it pretty much ever since we started it, but it will happen. We are going to get it to go down. So, but thank you for spending some time with us, and we look forward to seeing you guys, look forward to hearing with you guys next week.
Kick it with us next week, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.